time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great sports weekend, we welcome you to this Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host with his opinions from left field, John Riley, and we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend, your consultant. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. John Riley, good afternoon. You got to be kidding me. It's 107 degrees heat index outside in my driveway at this hour. Aren't you lucky I let you do your share of the podcast inside rather than your opinions from left field? How you doing?
Yeah, I mean, if I were out in the ballpark, it'd be a little bit too hot. But you know what? It's summertime, Lee. You know, this is the time for the boys of summer. I know we're going to talk a lot of Padres, Dodgers, Angels. We're going to talk, World Cup. Let's get going, man.
Yeah, we're going to go a lot of different directions. We're going to try to buzz through some of the topics on the table. When we are done, because the mandate is we do sports talk the way it should be done, with opinions and a lot of information. When we are done, you get the chance to take over in the segment we call Fans Forum. It was like a traffic jam today in Rancho Bernardo and Poway. Were all those people lined up to get on Fans Forum? John, how does Fans Forum work for those who want to express opinions about our opinions?
Poway, can I get a Poway call? Okay, hey, you got a comment or question for Hacksaw? Drop your hot take in the live chat, YouTube, Facebook, X. Who do I see already online? I see Do You Love It? I see Teamer20. I see Carlos. I see Casey. I see Richard. I see Mike already jumping on board. So let's all pile in and line them up for Hacksaw.
That coming up, Fans Forum, when we are done with topics on the table. Just another reminder, I write about sports every day of the week. I want you to subscribe to get our newsletters. Go to my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You can read the best 15 minutes in sports every day. My one man's opinion column. You're a soccer fan, you got to read what I wrote about the World Cup. Today, it's on the website, and you're on the website. Register so you can join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You will get 2 newsletters a day. Think you'll really like those. They're absolutely free. Register to become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group on my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. We're in our 4th year together doing this podcast. A lot of people like it. You can't believe the number of people that follow us on live stream, the response we get on Instagram, etc. You can help us grow this thing a great deal. Where's that thumbs up button? Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the follow button, and then give us a 5-star rating on Apple. John, I'm ready. You're ready. Let's start. Topic 1, all things World Cup.
World Cup, and got a big surprise. Messi didn't return the champ.
Spain shocks Argentina 1-0. 126 minutes of soccer, and Argentina did not score a goal. Spain outshot them 12-0. In one stretch, the total was 20 shots on the game to 2 by Argentina. Lionel Messi was defensed out of the entire game. Their goaltender, Emilio Martinez, was unbelievable, a record 12 saves. I really thought the way that Argentina does business, they call it dark play, killed them. They had 25 fouls, they had 2 red cards, they had 4 yellow cards, and it was a really ugly end to the finish of the game. But how about Messi? Did you see at the end of the match, he sat on the field as they were getting ready to celebrate, and he wept? Did you look at some of the fouls? Enzo Fernandez hit with a red card at the 92nd minute on a very violent knee penalty. Spain had 65% possession during the course of the game. Spanish goalkeeper Unai Simon, 7th shutout in a World Cup, an all-time record. Spaniards gave up only 1 goal overall. And at the end of the day, I just thought it was an ugly ending to what had been a phenomenal World Cup. I don't know if it was a letdown. I knew Spain would be enormously tough defensively, and they made Messi disappear. I thought the officiating was really substandard. They let Argentina get away with a lot of cheap stuff through the first half of the first half, and then they started issuing yellow cards along the way. And it ended really badly with ugly fights and another red card after the match was over. And by the way, did you see Trump making his way down onto the field, a long walk with Gianni Infantino? And Trump was booed for 4 straight minutes as he made his way onto the podium. He was upset. He was never allowed to speak. He only gave out medals and shook hands of the Spanish players. And then he had to be escorted away from the podium as if he thought he should have a right to be in the championship picture with the Spanish side. I thought it was a phenomenal World Cup. I thought it was really a disappointing championship game. But credit to Yamal, credit obviously to that Spanish side. They made Messi disappear. They made the offense disappear. John, what did you think just about the game before we get to the other topics?
Okay. Well, the game itself, I mean, it was nice. It was a world event. I mean, this was like watching a Super Bowl in terms of the media exposure and the halftime shows. And Jesus, I couldn't believe Madonna was in the halftime show. I can't believe she's still relevant these days. But as far as the game goes, it kind of went the way that I expected, because I was rooting for Argentina, because I'm a fan of Javier Milei, the president of Argentina. And I was hoping they were going to do well. And then, in the pregame show, they asked, the panelists in the studio, it was, Thierry Henry said Spain's going to win. And then who was the next guy? Zlatan said it's going to be Spain. And even Alexi Lalas said it was going to be Spain. I'm like, all right. And then when I was watching, Spain in the semifinal, you could see that midfield kind of ball control game. And then sure enough, in this final, I think they controlled the ball for like roughly 2/3 of the match. So there weren't a whole lot of shots on goal. It wasn't a thrilling game. I was expecting Argentina to pull a rabbit out of their hat like they typically have been doing. But the event itself, overall, it was just a spectacle. And I was just really happy and proud, not only, for what Spain and Argentina did, but just in terms of America and hosting this event. I think overall, the host did a very good job. I mean, the Trump sideshow is a whole separate thing, but in terms of just event organizing, good vibes, no violence, or at least no, terrorism or something like that. Overall, it was a good event with good vibes all the way around, and so many great watching parties in America based on cheering for Team USA. Or in certain areas of America, like here, we're in San Diego, near Mexico. There's cheering parties for Team Mexico too, and it's kind of special.
It was special. And what an event. 3 weeks of greatness. I thought the game left something to be desired on Sunday. So if you're a soccer fan, because we've talked extensively, lots of angles, lots of stories, I want you to jump into Fans Forum. Surprised by the outcome? How great is Spain's side? Argentina done in with the dark way they play soccer with fouls, cheap shots, etc., because it all really caught up to them. Now, there are other storylines. Let's talk about Team England. Now, that was some game in the fight for third place on Saturday. England, 4-0 lead out of the gate. France came back. England beat them 6-4. Buck Saka, 3 goals, sealed it for the English. Mbappe had 2 goals for France in the attempt to come back. He finishes the tournament with a golden boot, and he scored 10 goals. He's an electric player. But the English side was just really, really impressive. Team USA, storyline. The U.S. Soccer Federation has asked Coach Mauricio Pochettino for a decision by the end of this week on their contract offer. Does he want to come back? commit to 4 more years and build this thing further out? Or is he going to try to get a job and go back abroad? The players have spoken out already. They want him back. MLS. This is really intriguing. Don Garber, the commissioner of Major League Soccer, thinks this will be a launching point for growth of soccer here in the States. However, when questioned over the weekend about the future of MLS, he says we are changing the schedule. We're going to have a schedule much like the English Premier League, where the transfer windows will be the same, so we'll all have access to get players. But we're not considering promotion nor relegation. Don Garber said we have 29 new stadiums that have opened up, charge big expansion fees. We've developed academies nationwide. We're not willing to walk away from the cities that have made these commitments to help us grow and relegate them if they have bad seasons. We're not ready to do that. Meanwhile, the former president of the USSF, the Soccer Federation, get this, Alan Rothenberger, who's been a tremendous proponent about the growth of the sport, says this World Cup will be the rocket launch of interest to make soccer likely the second biggest sport in the United States within a couple of years. Now, that to me is a bit of a reach, but there's no doubt that soccer front and center for 3 weeks had everybody's attention span, not because of Team USA alone, but because of the global powers and the greatness of the players that came here. A couple other side notes, John, before I let you quote about what England did, Team USA, etc. NYFC, New York Football Club, MLS, has made an offer to purchase Christian Pulisic from AC Milan. At this point, Milan has not expressed interest in selling his rights to an MLS team, but his name is also being floated, maybe going back to the English Premier League. And the Kansas City team in MLS has made an offer to former Liverpool star and the captain of Team Egypt, Mo Salah. Salah reportedly is going to visit Kansas City within the next week or so, and he's out of contract at Liverpool. He might wind up coming here to play MLS, despite the fact he's an older veteran player. So, John, did you like all things England on Saturday? What's your response to Team USA asking Pochettino to make the decision by the end of this week? And your thoughts on Garber, your thoughts on Rothenberg?
A lot going on there, Lee. Hey, by the way, see if you can get that microphone a little closer. We're getting some feedback from fans that can't hear you loud enough. So as far as, the other things going on here, first of all, the third place game, man, I was like, who wants to watch a third place game? And I figured, I'm just going to suffer through the Padres instead. And then it turned out that the game was off to like a 4-0 start. And I'm like, it's just going to be crap. And then the next thing I know, it's 4-3. I saw an update and I like, holy crap. So I jumped in on the 70th minute and there was a lot of action in the final 20 minutes there. So, good on England, for clinching that and getting, the bronze. But yeah, I think we were all expecting France to be in the final here too. So, Pochettino, he's got to make his decision here so we can move forward. And, Pulisic coming to MLS would be great. But I'll tell you what, this relegation idea in MLS, it sounds cool on the surface, because that's how the Champions League is done in England. But the league was saying, hey, we're not willing to throw our partners, who've just paid a big franchise fee to be in this league and then bump them down to the minor leagues. And I'm thinking, man, the soccer fans in Washington State and Oregon State are going, hell yeah. You shouldn't be bumping us down either. So they understand what relegation is all about. So I'm kind of glad that MLS is not going to do the relegation. If we had a really mature soccer league or a soccer system in America like they have in England, then that's a different story. But it is cool to see lots of soccer talk. It won't be number 2 in America. I mean, it could, I think, be in the top 5. I think that's potential because right now I think it's sort of barely in the top 10. But I think soccer could be a top 5 sport in America.
Okay, you're a soccer fan. We just put a lot of different topics on the table. Invite you to jump on board, give us your opinion. We go from all things soccer, John. Let's talk Major League Baseball. And we'll start with the Padres. Not their 19-2 win in Kansas City, which doesn't mean much considering you lost games in 1 and 2 of the series to the worst team in Major League Baseball. But I guess the bigger question, uninspired baseball, underachieving baseball, and where's the blame to be placed if this team can't get into postseason? And even if they get into postseason, how far are they going to go? I'll throw some different angles at you. It's A.J. Preller's team. It's his roster, his players, contracts he gave out, farm system that he traded away. So at the end of the day, if we're looking for somebody responsible, I'd say it's A.J. Preller. Now, does Craig Stammen play a role? First-year manager, new coaching staff? I think an awful lot of baseball mistakes as we've kind of stumbled through 2/3 of the schedule. Does he deserve some blame? A little bit, but not a great deal. And the third name is the Seidler family. What? Peter Seidler invested his life to make this thing relevant. His passing was sad. John Seidler took over. Quote, caretaker. He's done nothing. It's eroded away. They've cut their budget. They've increased the ticket prices, parking, everything. And the product was not good compared to when Peter Seidler was alive. So, John, I guess the burning question, as we're evaluating 2/3 the way into the season, this uninspired underachiever group, where does the bulk of the blame? Do the Seidlers? Does John Seidler, who's now the point person, does he need to be critiqued a little bit for letting this thing erode away? Or is it strictly on Preller and the victim manager, Craig Stammen? Go ahead.
This is so indicative of a lot of different things in society in terms of who do we blame, right? Because there's a lot of potential people involved here. First of all, there is no way that I'm going to blame anyone with the last name of Seidler. We can say that, those contracts should have been a little better structured, but come on. I mean, Seidler was a dream owner for the owner that Padres fans have been asking for decades. So he's not the problem. Preller, there have been mistakes, and he's been here now for like 10 years, maybe a little more. There's, I think, a lot of question marks there. Stammen, he's learning on the job, and there have been times where he has clearly been outclassed as a manager. But he's not ultimately the problem either. I mean, so it's not Seidler, it's not Preller, and it's not Stammen ultimately. The real blame belongs to the players. I mean, that's where it belongs. So in this case, it's, Manny Machado needs to be hitting a hell of a lot better. And so does Jackson Merrill. And we need even more power from Tatis. And we got to get Gavin Sheets hitting somewhere north of 250 to go with his power numbers. And Duhar's got to be the hitter that we expected. And Cronenworth's got to rise from the dead, so that's the problem. Now, there have been injuries, like Pivetta, Musgrove, Darvish, and then, all the Estrada and all the other relievers. But that's going to happen in a season. In the end, it's the players and particularly the hitters that are the ones that are not performing. So that's who I blame.
Well, they're 19-32 with Preller's players since mid-May. And you can look with rose-colored glasses, John, and say, well, they're on the periphery of being a wild card team. They're not going anywhere in the playoffs. Even if they make the playoffs, there's no guarantee they're going to make the playoffs.
That's right.
The question is, what happens in terms of can they make a good acquisition? And we're going to talk more extensively about the trading deadline this coming Thursday. But at the end of the day, John Seidler family decision, pair payroll, that's been an issue. But the bigger issue is obviously these are all Preller's people. His players, the deals, the trades, the contracts given out. So, I mean, much of the blame, I think, goes to the general manager for what we no longer have, which is a team that everybody said has to be in a World Series if this blueprint's going to work. Has not worked. I blame Stammen much less than I blame A.J. Preller. But I think you have to bring up John Seidler's name as he's been caretaker for this.
Yeah.
Because it's eroded.
Well, it's kind of like, this will take you back to your childhood days. Harry S. Truman, man, the buck stops here, right? I mean, a dude at the top has to be responsible. And yes, John Seidler is that guy, but let's be real. Like you say, he's just carrying the baton temporarily until he sells the thing, and it made sense that he wasn't going to go all in, even though from a PR perspective, they were saying business as usual. We knew that wasn't true. And so, yeah, the payroll is not as high as it was when Peter was alive, bless his soul. But because they've had to whittle it down, that has really exposed the Machado contract and the Bogarts contract, et cetera, because there's not a lot of wiggle room left to fit all these guys in the roster on that payroll. Okay.
Padre fans, we've expressed an opinion, and of course we gave you a letter grade right around the All-Star break as to what the Padres record looks like in a report card status. You got an opinion? Fans Forum chat box is open for business. We go from that. Let's talk Dodger baseball, because I'm going to say some things here that might arouse a few people there.
All right, Hacksaw, we don't want you arousing anybody right now.
Nice headline. Good news, bad news. They may be in first place, but boy, they sure look like they got problems. And now the latest, Shohei Ohtani pulled from the starting rotation. They think for at least 3 more starts. And they don't know whether or not he can come back, be the pitcher he was. Ohtani has got inflammation in his knee. They drained fluid. They gave him a lubricant injection in the knee. This is all pitching related. It's not related to being a DH, running the bases, or anything like that. He's having problems with his lead leg landing as he pitches. They've tried to limit his bullpen sessions, but he needs bullpen sessions to get ready for his starts. John, you do remember the early segment where he had a 0.78 ERA?
Yeah.
His ERA is now 4.48 over his last 4 or 5 starts, and he's given up home runs, so he's not the dominant here. The mechanics are the issue. The force, the landing force on the front leg has become the problem. So Ohtani is out of the rotation. Blake Snell, first appearance, AAA, Oklahoma City, rehab over the weekend. Only went 1 1/3 innings. He struck out all 4 batters that he retired. They think he needs at least 3 starts. He's got to build his pitch count. Tyler Glasnow has had only 1 throwing session with the back. It's a big issue. Edwin Diaz, relief appearance in the California League in Ontario, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Looked dominant. Might go 1 more minor league rehab, probably ready to join the bullpen. Will Smith, the catcher, a setback. The pinched nerve has now been complicated because they're worried about a disc situation. They've shut him down completely. Evidently, all the rest of the rehab and the injection in the neck area helped. But the minute he started to swing the bat, it flared again. He's out indefinitely. So, John, all of a sudden, the Dodgers have got themselves a whole series of issues. And added into the equation is the fact that they paid Kyle Tucker $60 million a year, John, and he's hitting under 240 with only 7 home runs. He just does not look like anything more than just a middle-class baseball player rather than a superstar making $60 million. Dodgers might have the best record in baseball. Now they go into Philadelphia tonight. Tough road trip continues, like the Padre road trip continues in Atlanta. Dodgers do not look like a complete team. And now you got the Ohtani pitching crisis on top of Snell, on top of Glasnow. Suddenly that rotation doesn't look great either. Go ahead, John. Opinion on Dodger Blue.
My first opinion is on you. It's like you're working overtime to manufacture a crisis at Chavez Ravine, man. I mean, Shohei Ohtani is, he's like a Greek god.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're telling me now that maybe we got to knock him down to a demigod because he can't pitch effectively. He's only going to be the home run champ, Triple Crown award winner, MVP, even without his pitching. I mean, so the Dodgers are just fine. They're just cruising. It's like a little break in the summer, you know, and yeah, Blake Snell's on ice. They're kind of sandbagging him. He'll come back in August. He'll be fine. And by the way, when you said Tyler Glasnow, I could have sworn you said have a glass now. I was thinking like you're having a little bit of wine there, or Mrs. Hacksaw's joining in. Yeah, the Dodgers are fine, Lee. They're going to be okay. I mean, they could literally lose Ohtani, and they'd still get to the World Series and probably win the thing again.
Not with that starting rotation. If there's no Ohtani, and there's nothing from Snell, and you can't trust Glasnow to get back on the mound, you really think that's a World Series rotation? What's left behind outside of Yamamoto? I mean,
well,
Sasaki,
compared to what? I mean, you know, look at the other 29 teams in the league. You know, they're no one's knocking your socks off.
Okay. I'm pointing out what I think are problems. If they go to a tailspin, I don't want you showing up a couple of weeks from now saying, whoa, what has happened? Because I forewarned you. I told you
Just
so.
the facts.
Jack. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a Dodger fan. A lot of people, I guess, John, a little bit upset that I gave the Dodgers a letter grade of B.
Yeah, they thought you were out of your mind.
Well, that could well be, but I'm entitled to my own opinion. But hey, Fans Forum chat box is open. Should anybody be concerned about the Dodgers if Ohtani's not part of your rotation, complicated by everything else that we just alluded to with the rest of that rotation? Feel free, jump on board. We'll go from that, John. You're going to peek inside the baseball notebook. Ready?
Yeah, a lot of action going on. Let's kick it off with the Mets.
Baseball trading deadline is August 3rd. You'll want to be with us this coming Thursday because we're going to spend some time talking about who's got players to be dealt and who might wind up where. In terms of the Mets, they have posted a for sale sign outside of Citi Field. They're putting a ton of their guys on the trade block. They're going to try to move some. Mets are a disaster. But at the end of the day, you can't trade big contracts. As good a player, as much money as Francisco Lindor is making, who wants that type of contract? So I don't know that they can move him. I don't know that you can move Bo Bichette. He's grossly overpaid to hit 260 with an occasional home run. So those are two marquee names. You got Marcus Semien, the second baseman that they signed to a free agent contract. He's not the same player either. They got Kodai Senga, Freddie Peralta amongst the pitchers that they might try to move, but neither one of those guys has pitched very well. So that I don't know that the Mets have a lot of pieces that are going to help an awful lot of people because the best players that could help, I don't think anybody can afford to take on the Lindor contract, etc. Detroit, it sure looks like everything has changed. It sure looks like Tarek Skubal is not going to be traded. Detroit, after that rugged start with all those injuries, has gone 23-14, and they're just on the periphery of the wild card, and they're starting to hit also. Their banged-up batting order is finally getting guys back. So Skubal may be coming off the trade docket. Now, does that mean Detroit is going to rethink and may sign him? I think they should. I don't know if ownership will. But Detroit right now seems to be of the opinion, hey, we're going to keep this guy because this guy, along with a healthy Casey Mize and some other people, they signed Framber Valdez, they may have enough to get into postseason, which is kind of important. Red Sox, do you know they've not won this many games, John, since 1948? Wow. Red Sox have won 13 in a row, and consider how bad they were at the start of the season. And now suddenly the reports out of Boston is that they're going to take Sonny Gray and Aroldis Chapman off the trade block, and they're going to try to ride this thing into a wild card playoff spot and keep this roster intact. In fact, they're talking they might trade one of their young players to try to go get another veteran starting pitcher to anchor that rotation. So that bears watching. So suddenly Detroit and Boston, whom everybody was prepared to call about deals, might not be making deals. Yankees, they lost 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers this weekend. Yankees batting order is just shredded by all these injuries. Aaron Judge has been sidelined more than a month, and he's still not cleared to do baseball-related stuff. They're going to send him back for a 3rd MRI in that rib area. He's still got discomfort. Not a good situation for the Yankees. And a really sad story in Milwaukee. And the Brewers are having a hell of a season, but they got a lot of pitching injuries. And now they've lost Brandon Woodruff. He's gone down for a 3rd time with another shoulder injury. Brandon Woodruff will have surgery this week for shoulder capsule damage, John. 3rd time over the course of his career, he's had shoulder surgery. Looks as if he misses not just the rest of this season, but maybe half of next season, and he just can't get healthy. John, that's what's going on, peeking inside my baseball notebook. Would you trade for anybody the Mets have?
No. I'm just thinking Marcus Semien. He had his productive years with the Rangers, but am I going to want to unload some of my something in return on the trade, some other players, maybe some young talent, and then have to take on that salary? And everybody on that Mets roster is getting paid a ton. So I don't know. It seems to me in order for the Mets to move some of those veterans, they're going to have to go into that AAA pitching staff because they got a lot of good talent. Or have those guys all gotten promoted already, Lee?
Well, a couple have been promoted, a couple have been sent back because they weren't ready. The future of the Mets, at least on the mound core, looks pretty decent. But they're nowhere near ready at this point in time to force feed all those kids. And I don't think they want to trade any of those kids to rid themselves of some of these other big money contracts. So Mets are in a world of hurt. And are you surprised, like I'm surprised, at what Detroit and Boston have evolved into, considering where they were in April and May in terms of baseball?
Yeah. This is what makes baseball great when you come into the trade deadline, because now suddenly teams think they've got a shot, and they look around and, again, there's because of the expanded wild card format, there's way more teams that are in it than are out of it at this point. So everyone's got hope. I like the expanded playoff, by the way, but in this case, Detroit and Boston, maybe they thought they were sellers, now they're buyers. Which is actually kind of good if the Tigers want to get maximum leverage out of the Dodgers. They're going to have to kind of play this, and I think it probably will go on a game by game basis as we get down to August 3rd. Is that the deadline?
That is. Circle that on your calendar. Okay, that's what's going on in Major League Baseball. You got an opinion? That's why we do this podcast. We put a lot of topics on the table so you can jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. Let's talk NBA basketball here before we get to halftime, John. We're all waiting. Good headline you put there. What happens next?
LeBron and Kawhi, they're both on the move.
Let's wait. I'll tell you, we're led to believe LeBron's going to make his decision by the end of this week. He's getting pressured by teams that want to know, are you with us or you're not going to be here? I think the league is pressuring him, too, because they want to put out the schedule. He's got 6 offers. And I wonder why he's struggling. The team that's got all the talent and some type of cap space to make a deal with LeBron is Philadelphia. Philadelphia's got Embiid, Edgecombe, Maxey. Those are pretty good basketball players. And LeBron would just add 21 points per game if he came on board. Miami obviously has got Abadeo and then Giannis. Now, they got some young guys, but they've also strip mined this roster to make the Milwaukee trade. But LeBron has a pretty good relationship with Pat Riley, so keep an eye on that. The one that I think really needs him is Denver. Now, they got some weird fits, but Denver's got the Joker, and Denver's got Murray. Denver's got jumping jacks like Gordon and others. I think Denver's a pretty good basketball team. LeBron would be huge. And can you imagine if he went to Denver and he's going to play the people in the Western Conference? So Denver's there. Emotionally, Cleveland makes a ton of sense. But they have so much money tied up in young guys, John. The burning question with the Cavaliers, if you want to bring LeBron in and give him something like the mid-level exemption, you got to move somebody. And if you add LeBron for 1 year and it costs you Jared Allen, the big center, or it costs you Ev Mobley, the big forward, very productive players, does that help you in the big picture? So that bears watching as to whether that's the right place. Minnesota doesn't make any sense only because there's so much talent spread across that roster, and there's only one basketball that you can use on the floor. So I don't know that Minnesota makes sense. And then the last one's Golden State. And from a mutual admiration society perspective, Kerr, Curry, Draymond Green, LeBron, a lot of respect back and forth, all great people within the NBA's history, but they're not going to win. And that'd be a one-year farewell tour with a bunch of other guys that might be involved in a farewell tour too. So I'm just not sure what LeBron should do. To me, Philadelphia makes the best sense. And the second one, I think, would be Miami, only because of the relationship with that coach, Spoelstra, and obviously with Pat Riley. And in terms of the Kawhi Leonard situation, there is so much reaction around the country from NBA people about, is the league delaying this? Is the league trying to hope this is going to go away? Why is it taking 11 months? But now the reality that there may have been a second whistleblower who has surfaced, dropping information into the investigation that Kawhi had a second illegal sidebar financial deal, and Kawhi made demands on Steve Ballmer in terms of picking up fees, legal fees, that would all be outside the window of the salary cap. So this story seems to be getting deeper and deeper. And nobody at this point knows whether or not the league is just going to drop the hammer on the Clippers. Were they the responsible party that triggered all this? They're going to drop the hammer on Kawhi and put him out in the street as an unsigned free agent after everybody has spent all their free agent money? Are they going to suspend him for a year if he was the one that created the salary cap violations with all of his demands? So, John, it's going to be fascinating to see where it goes. Tell me, where's LeBron's next mailing address? And who's the bad guy in the whole Kawhi Leonard salary cap story?
Well, first of all, Lee, who's the bad guy? Is LeBron like a street free agent, or is it still like a sign and trade thing? Can you clarify that?
No, he's a street free agent.
Okay.
He's off the books. He can go anywhere he wants, but it won't be for a mega payday. It'll be for whatever that next team can afford to give him, whether it's a mid-level exemption at $20 million or it's much lower than that. I don't think there's any ability to do sign and trade.
Okay. Well, so that simplifies things, right? Because, you were talking about if he were to go to Cleveland, would they have to give up Jared Allen? I mean, that's when we were talking about a sign and trade. So it's a street free agent. He can go where he wants. To me, just from an emotional perspective, it'd be great for him to go to Cleveland and have a swan song. That just feels like a good storybook ending. It's interesting, though, when going back to the Heat. Now, it got me thinking, about players when they leave a team and then land back at the same team they were with previously, whether they got traded or a free agent. It always feels like an awkward sort of, you broke up and you got back together kind of a thing. So I don't know. I just generally would prefer that LeBron goes somewhere else. To me, yeah, Golden State would be like a soap opera. You'd have you want to be in that, like the locker room, like Hard Knocks, if it was the Golden State merger with LeBron. But I don't see him going to Denver or Minnesota, but I think Philly would make a lot of sense. And then as far as Kawhi's gone, we thought of him as just kind of a humble young man that came out of, what was he, Riverside or Moreno Valley, and was a surprise player for San Diego State Aztecs. And then our guy, did good in the NBA, won a couple of championships, a couple of finals MVPs, getting paid big money. And now the dude is like, I don't know. He's working deals like, he's like Godfather or something here. He's got all these side deals and kind of leveraging his situation. It just puts everything into a different light. And Kawhi is just usually just so mild-mannered and kind of keeps his life sort of close to the vest. So all of this it doesn't feel right, Lee.
I agree with you. And now suddenly the minute I think Kawhi, minute I see that picture that we have propped up on the screen, I'm just looking at him in a very different lens. I have a very different feel about what this person has become. That it's really bothersome. And I'm stunned it's taken the league 11 months. But again, it looked as if their report was about to be finalized maybe a month ago. And the intimation is a second whistleblower has surfaced about another deal and about these financial demands for legal fees made by Kawhi and his handlers to Steve Ballmer. So you're a basketball fan. We just laid out for you. Somebody jump on the Lakers line. Just give me an opinion. What's the best spot for LeBron James to wind up? And have you changed your viewpoint of Kawhi Leonard? We are at halftime. Monday bonus podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Tell you what, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, bingo, this is the place you should work. We're talking about every type of tool imaginable. John, whether you're in the garage, in the basement, building, fixing, creating, DIXIELINE is that guy's best friend. Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, yeah, you just said there, you almost got the slogan. It's build it, fix it, enjoy it, right? And that's what it's all about there. So yeah, they're an old school lumber yard, and they're also a local hardware store. And so, we're just showing some of the tools, and, they got all the big brands, all the power tools, all the, the cordless, the latest technology from DeWalt and Milwaukee, and all the top brands. And by the way, they have those each of those tool brands will come out and do showcase presentations out of their factory truck, with all the latest, circular saws and things. And those are always cool to sign up for if you go on the events page at DIXIELINE.com. But yeah. And, generally speaking, about half their business comes from the contractors and builders that are building brand new homes, building apartment buildings, that are doing renovations. And the other half comes from homeowners like you, Lee, that are getting replacement doors and windows. So they're a homeowner's and a contractor's best friend, DIXIELINE Lumber.
DIXIELINE. Go to DIXIELINE.com. Build it, fix it. Guarantee you will enjoy it in 2026. We are at halftime, our Monday bonus podcast. When we're done with topics on the table, you take over this podcast. Yeah, I bet there's a few people with opinions about our opinions. John, it's called Fans Forum. Describe for everybody on live stream how they can jump in and become a co-host.
Okay, well, we're going to keep it short because there's a lot of names. We're going to get to everybody in Fans Forum. But yeah, jump on board. Drop your hot take in Facebook, on X, or on YouTube in the live chat, and we'll get you in Fans Forum. It's coming up quick.
Fans Forum right at the end of this podcast. A reminder, I write about sports every day of the week on LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Check it, the best 15 minutes in sports. Check my one man's opinion column today on the World Cup of Soccer. I wrote something really different. Yeah, it was a little bit offbeat, but tell me what you think if you liked what I wrote today about the World Cup of Soccer. And when you go to my website, register to join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. It will guarantee you're going to get 2 sports newsletters a day in your email, in your inbox. Just fill out the the orange box right on the homepage and become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. I want you to join me on social media. Take part in Hacksaw's mini polls on X. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button, or at Hacksaw1090, hit the follow button. Help us grow this thing a great deal. Where's that thumbs up button? Hit that thumbs up. Hit that follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. We're in the air everywhere, and want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe, every time John and I put additional video up on the YouTube channel, you will get an alert there too. I miss anything, John?
Actually, there is. There is one thing that you did miss, and you'd like to talk about how we're in the air everywhere, but you're everywhere on the web. I mean, you do a hell of a job. I mean, really getting your commentaries and everything out there. But that the internet. Do you know it's going through satellites right now with Elon Musk? He's got those Starlinks flying around up there in orbit, and so Hacksaw is in outer space. It's not just from Baja to the Canadian Rockies anymore.
Oh, my goodness. I'll have to come up with a new slug line, don't I? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Starlink. All right, John, let's go to the second half because you know what's happening just around the corner? Here comes NFL training camps, John.
Yeah, Rams Chargers to kick it off.
Yeah, let's just talk about a couple hot headlines, and we're going to start to dive in the end of this week and all of next week on all things National Football League. But a couple bullet points. The Rams are about ready to open their preseason training camp, and everybody's talking about the defensive tackle Aaron Donald. He has been working out privately with trainers at the facility since a week ago Friday to try to determine whether he's in NFL condition. All types of dialogue back and forth. Should he be on the opening day roster? Should he take it slowly and work his way and be available mid-season? How much football can he play? Does he want to play? We don't know that, but he's been in the facility since a week ago last Friday. The other storyline with the Rams, John, and most people would not think this is critical unless something happens to your starting quarterback. Their backup quarterbacks are Stetson Bennett, third-year guy who's never played, and Tyler Simpson, first-round draft pick who's never played. The Rams have made no move to go get a backup quarterback. So that's the story out of the Rams camp. As for the Chargers, they bring their players in on the 29th. This is going to be unique, this marriage between Justin Herbert and the new playbook of the offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. I think the other big question, are they going to be a throw-first or a run-first team? Because Harbaugh built this roster that they want to pound the football, and it hasn't worked that way. Mike McDaniel threw the hell out of the ball in Miami with Tua Tagovailoa. And the third question with the Chargers, offensive guard, offensive center. Have you solved this issue? I have huge reservations about that, but the offense is going to have a much different look and different feel. So that's a Charger headline. Over in Denver, item 1, Bo Nix, 2 ankle surgeries, one for the broken bone and then the other for scar tissue. Now, they're saying he's going to be ready to go full bore when the Broncos open camp. But does that include running? Because there was a theory they needed to add Bo Nix back as a running threaded quarterback. Where is he in terms of the total rehab with 2 ankle surgeries? And the other Denver angle, they got Jaden Waddle from Miami. That's a big play wide receiver, and that's the one thing that has plagued Sean Payton since he's been there as head coach, is just the inconsistency, game in, game out, explosiveness at wide receiver. Jalen Waddle is a hell of a player. So if Nix is healthy and Waddle is in Denver what he was in Miami, suddenly the Broncos look like even more dangerous than they were. Kansas City, it's all going to swirl around Patrick Mahomes and the recovery from his knee surgery. The other storyline in Kansas City is the Chiefs obviously bringing in the big running back from the Seattle Seahawks, the Super Bowl MVP, and the reemergence of Eric Bieniemy. And their theory is they're going to run the football this year, not put it all on Mahomes. So that's going to be fascinating to see. Then there's the Raiders Nation. You got Kirk Cousins and you got Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza is not signed yet, and their camp is about to be opened. That's kind of weird. Now, he's supposed to redshirt this year behind Kirk Cousins. The other thing is Clint Kubiak comes back on board. New coach, new playbook. How's all this going to come together? Third item, have they fixed the offensive line? Fourth item, do they really have a stud wide receiver? Fifth item, they spent a hell of a lot of money on defense. Did they get any Pro Bowlers, or are these just plug-in guys? This is an awful lot of conversation involving the Raiders. Well, a lot of question marks going to the opening of their camp. And the last story is really ugly. The NFL has suspended indefinitely the director of scouting of the Arizona Cardinals, Ron Gold. He was involved in gambling schemes using insider information about injuries over the last couple of years. He also bet on college football games, and he placed parlay bets on inside information on draft picks. This truly a guy that has all this data, all of a sudden was scamming money off it. He's been suspended indefinitely. His career effectively is over. So, John, that's just the tip of the iceberg of the kind of stuff our viewers are going to get when we go into the NFL Notebook week by week as camps open beginning next week. Response?
We talking football already? I mean, wow. I mean, that's cool. And we're getting close to it. I mean, yeah, we usually think it starts like camps like in very late July. So here's a question for you. With Aaron Donald, did you say that he's hoping to come back and start playing midway through the season? Is that what you said?
That's one of the trains of thought. Do they need him early out of the gate? He's been out of it 2 years. What kind of, quote, football shape is he in? So is he ready to play right now? If he's ready to play, they don't use him as a starter. Would they use him only in passing down situations? Or they better serve to let him ramp up, train, get ready, practice, and then join the team mid-season, fresh legs with all this months and months of ramping up. So that's kind of an intriguing angle. I mean, they're set along the defensive front since the acquisition of Myles Garrett. This guy could be a great insurance policy. The question is, can he play lickety-split after being out of the game 2 years?
Well, I think when he retired, it kind of caught us all off guard. So, he could definitely play. But it just strikes me as like it's similar to what the Dodgers are doing with Blake Snell. They sign him and he's sort of injured, and we'll bring you back halfway through the year, and we'll bring you back just when we need you for the playoffs. It's also kind of like load management in the NBA. So that's how this whole thing strikes me. But when Aaron Donald left, it shocked us all. He's probably, I've seen him on television. He still looks terrific. Now, granted, he's certainly not in football shape, but I can't imagine it would take him to, Thanksgiving or, sometime in November to be ready to go. I bet you he'd be chomping at the bit.
I agree. So we'll see where it goes. Any of those other bullet points there? Rams backup quarterback, Jalen Waddle to Denver, Kansas City personality change, question marks from here to Vegas with the Raiders. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love the whole Raiders story. So, Mendoza is such a good boy. He wants to get to training camp on day one, doesn't want to get behind the schedule. So, okay, man, go sign your deal and get it done. But I think that's going to be fun to watch. I kind of see, Kirk Cousins really embracing this opportunity. It's going to be competitive to see who's going to be the starter. But if Mendoza wins it out of camp or eventually wins it through the middle of the season, I can see Cousins really being like the perfect support guy there to help out the young kids. So to me, it's just wonderful that the Raiders are relevant. The Raiders have a lot going for them right now, and the future is bright, which I haven't been able to say that in a really long time.
Well, you're doing this podcast with your heart. Please invoke use of your head. They got as many questions as I've ever had, John, and they don't have any answers till we get on the field.
Well, it's still better than it's been.
They're spewing so much silver and bleak optimism with no facts to back it up yet.
All right. Well, they got the number one pick, so we'll see.
Okay. Okay, NFL fan, feel free, jump on board. And we're going to talk a lot more about NFL training camps starting at the end of this week and obviously kicking into next week. John, next topic on the table, let's talk puck.
Yeah, this suicide note story kind of really hit me.
Yeah, this is amazing. We're talking about obviously what happened during the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Montreal Canadiens. They brought all the legendary stars back, the salute with the torch before every home game there at Bell Center. Claude Lemieux was one of many who participated. And the day after he participated, the legendary power forward of the Canadiens committed suicide. Now we find out through his son that he left a suicide note on a cell phone to his wife. He had had emotional problems all through the course of his retirement, even though he was successful as a businessman, as a player agent. and to a degree as a broadcaster. But evidently he had a relapse with alcohol. The week of the ceremony that he was to appear, his wife told him he had to leave the house and she was going to file divorce, that she was not going to live through more alcoholism. And he went and took part in that ceremony with the Canadiens, came home and killed himself. Terrible, terrible story. The guy fought for every inch on the ice. He fought for every inch in his life. Just a sad commentary that there just was not enough help out there for Claude Lemieux. So it's a sad story in Montreal. Second one, Winnipeg Jets. This is hard to believe, but Winnipeg is having trade conversations to move the Olympic goaltending star Connor Hellebuyck, one of their great leaders, maybe to the Buffalo Sabres. Hellebuyck he's got an ironclad no-trade clause. He changed it last week and said he would accept the deal. This, to me, has to be heartbreaking for Winnipeg Jet fans. Somebody from our Canada network can jump on board if they wish. That's a great player. Now, granted, you could probably get a pretty decent haul for Connor Hellebuyck in terms of young goal scorers, etc. But that'd be sad for Winnipeg to lose him. Third one is the St. Louis Blues. Speaking of Olympic goaltenders, the other guy that was in the Olympic competition with Hellebuyck was Jimmy Bennington, the goaltender of the St. Louis Blues. He's on the trade block. Report he could be going to the New Jersey Devils. So keep an eye on that one. Meanwhile, Anaheim Ducks. Boy, Pat Verbeek is just taking so much heat around the NHL for mishandling the Leo Carlsson $18 million contract, screwing up the salary cap, the fact that there are 7 players who have left in the offseason off that roster in which the Ducks got to the playoffs. It's just not the same franchise anymore. And now the columnists in Canada are saying this is a fireable offense. How Verbeek has lowballed all of his players. He's run off so many young players. And now he had to do this to retain Leo Carlsson. And he doesn't have the money to sign Cutter Gauthier, the 41-goal-scoring sensation. Detroit. Stevie Yzerman removed as general manager last week. Most interesting name might replace him. Ex-Toronto Maple Leaf general manager Brendan Shanahan. Keep an eye on that. And here in town, San Diego Gulls have a new coach. This guy comes with credentials. His name is Dave Manson. 16 years in the National Hockey League as a power forward tough guy. Retired and immediately got into coaching. An assistant coach with the Edmonton Oilers. Assistant coach in the American Hockey League in Bakersfield. He was a right-hand man this past season to Matt McIlvaine with the Gulls. He gets elevated. Dave Manson, new head coach, San Diego Gulls. He's really served his time, so congratulations to him. Also, they just hired Kelly Buchberger, longtime NHL defenseman. He's been an executive in Edmonton in player personnel. Once he got out of playing hockey, he went immediately into coaching and into scouting. And they hired a third coach today by the name of Steve McCarthy. He spent the last 5 years as an assistant coach with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Gulls taking a step forward, guys they're very comfortable with, but guys that played a lot of years in the National Hockey League. So to me, that's really, really impressive. So, John, we'll start with Lemieux, work towards the goaltenders. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, the Lemieux story, when I read it in the best 15, man, I had to take a moment. I mean, that was pretty hard, being an NHL great, being a pro athlete. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment in life, but to still feel crappy about your life and then you're drinking and then your wife wants to divorce you. I could see how his whole world was crashing around him. And I just I was feeling his pain. So that's a tough story, But I just a random question for you, Lee. Let's just say any NHL hockey team out there, you could pick whichever one you want. they gave you a call and they said, hey, Lee, we have an emergency. Our play-by-play guy is out. He broke his leg. He can't get to the arena. I need you to be in Anaheim, for tomorrow night's game. Would you be able to do the play-by-play?
I'd walk in because I have knowledge of hockey and I could still do the play-by-play. I'd probably pull out a couple of my files that have my hockey play-by-play on and just give it a listen to come back up with the lingo. Yeah, I could probably do a fill-in situation, but at this point in time, I don't know where that would be. And I don't know if I could get on a plane and start traveling, because the wear and tear and travel in the National Hockey League, that's pretty tough at this point in time for those of us who are retired, if you will. I don't know. I'd think about it. If it were to help out the Ducks or the Kings, yeah, I probably would. But if it was to take a full-time job somewhere else, and those jobs are few and far between, they do open occasionally, to me it'd be awful hard. I just don't know how I would do it. And I don't think I could do it just living in San Diego. I think to do a job really well, if I was to be the voice of the Ducks, I'd have to live in Anaheim and Orange County. And that means lifestyle change, moving, family uproot. So it'd be awful tough at this point in my life.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, I think he could pull it off. And by the way, traveling on an airplane first class is a hell of a lot easier than those bus trips, with the Johnstown Jets and all the teams that you were with back in those minor league days.
Well, I think, you've traveled charter in the NHL, but yet the wear and tear factor, travel is pretty significant. But that's an interesting question. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the Gulls are doing, because they're bringing in NHLers to coach these kids. Now, Pat Verbeek's got to give him some of these first-round draft picks for these guys to coach. But Dave Manson, that's unique. He gave up, when his career was over, John, 16 years in the league is a hell of a run. He got immediately into coaching. And, you talk about radical lifestyle change, finances and all that, that's really different. So he wanted to do this, and now he's got a head coaching job in the American Hockey League.
Well, he wants to teach the game, he wants to keep it alive, keep it relevant for hockey fans all over America. So good on him. Yeah, he's got a lot to offer, and it's just nice seeing our local teams, even if they are minor league, they're making good choices along the way.
Well, they've had a couple of good coaches, Matt McIlvain, and prior to that, Dallas Eakins. Those guys did a really good job, and they wound up going to the NHL. So Dave Manson comes on board as Gulls head coach. You like hockey? Hey, Fans Forum chat box is open. Okay, last set of topics on the table. We're going to check hot headlines, John.
This British Open was awesome. What a finish.
It was so bizarre. The British Open, we talked about this going in last week. British Open, you got to deal with the elements. You got to deal with the links courses. You got to deal with wind, rain, cold, the brush, the weird pin placements. None of that happened. This British Open would intimidate a lot of young guys. That didn't happen. Veteran guys might be atop the leaderboard after one round, but what do you do the next 3 rounds? That didn't happen. It was really strange. And then somebody from New Zealand, who's hardly done anything, his name is Ryan Fox, wins the British Open. And this is the British Open. This is in Southport, England. This guy birdied 4 of the last 6 holes with the whole pressure of the globe watching you. He finished at 10 under par. He beat the bunkers. He beat some unbelievable tee shots, getting beyond the bunkers. Didn't lose his putter along the way. It was very, very impressive. And by the way, Ryan Fox put himself into contention on Saturday, shooting a 62. A 62. 3 different guys carded 62s at the British Open. Never been done before. And then there was Sam Burns, who's thinking about dropping out because his wife just had a baby. He shot a 62, and he was right there till the bitter end. Now, it wasn't easy for everybody. Scotty Scheffler, slow start. Scheffler had 3 bogeys late. That killed him. Tommy Fleetwood had 3 bogeys in 4 holes on Sunday. That wiped him out. bad weekend for Bryson DeChambeau. He had a shot into the high rough, and he stomped around where the ball was, and he got hit with a 2-stroke penalty because you're not allowed to lay the grass down. And he was screeching at the officials, "I'm trying to find the place to stand so I can hit the shot." And I said, "No, you're not. You're walking round and round in circles trying to lay the grass down. That's a violation." And then yesterday, still steamed about the 2-stroke penalty on Saturday, he goes out and goes bogey, triple bogey at the end. Xander Schauffele had 3 bogeys yesterday that hurt him. And Rory McIlroy just never found himself. It was kind of stunning. McIlroy wound up with 6 bogeys and a double over the final 2 days. So, John, it was fun to watch. It was absolutely amazing because there were no storms. I would have never bet money that we get through a British Open without rain, wind, hail, cold, etc. None of that happened, and the young guys didn't fold their tents. Ryan Fox was pretty impressive. We got that. Meanwhile, Belgium Grand Prix. Pretty impressive. Kimi Antonelli, the 19-year-old, gets his 6th win of the season in the Belgium Grand Prix. Grabbed the lead with 10 laps left and roared to victory. Charles Leclerc, who had the lead, faltered, finished second. Max Verstappen was third. Really bad incident. During the race, Sir Lewis Hamilton had a first-lap accident, and then later in the race, ran over one of his pit crew members in the pits, injuring his leg, got sanctioned. Today, Formula One fined him $25,000 for the incident along pit row. So Belgian Grand Prix, just absolutely amazing. And the last item, track and field. Do you remember the name Roger Bannister? England?
Yeah.
4-minute mile. Well, everybody's obviously, that's the record that has been broken multiple times. But track and field recently, in terms of distance running, has not had anybody attack the world record. The latest world record was set in 1999 by a Moroccan, Hikem El Garouj. He ran a 3:43.1 until Saturday. His name is Josh Kerr from Scotland, running in the London Festival outdoor event. He ran a 3:42.6, a new world record. It took 27 years for somebody to beat El Garouj's record. But Josh Kerr, I saw the video. It's like he wasn't even laboring. He ran a 3:42.6 for the 1-mile run for Scotland. So now we got a new target to go chase. John, so those are hot topics on the table. Start with the British Open, go to auto racing and track and field, because we do cover it all.
We do cover it all. You know, I was watching the Open and on Sunday, and I was amazed that, you know, Cam Young had that great run at the end in the fourth round, but he was sitting in the clubhouse for hours, you know, waiting for this thing to finish up. And I thought he was going to actually survive this thing and win it. But, you know, you got to give it to Fox for making a nice run there. You know, Bryson DeChambeau out there, you know, one of my buddies likes to think of him as an obnoxious bro. He doesn't really like him, thinks he's kind of arrogant, but he always has something to say. And I saw Scheffler, didn't he like lose a ball? And there was a lot of controversy about where it was going to be placed back. He was making a nice run at the end, but he faltered. So you just love seeing some new guys get a little bit of attention with the Open. But the mile, breaking the mile record again, I mean, every time something like this happens, you know, whether it's the 100-yard dash or a mile, it just really goes and just tells you, man, isn't it amazing what we're accomplishing as humans, you know, and just constant improvement and evolution. And this has been going on for, you know, hundreds of thousands of years, but it's still cool to see in your lifetime world records to be broken and, you know, great human achievements that they just keep coming.
Well, you know, I grew up as a distance runner, and, you know, I grew up in the era of Jim Ryan, the great high school distance runner who became the superstar at Kansas and then became the Olympian and all that. And track and field at that point really was carried by distance runners. And then we went through the cycle where we had phenomenal Olympic sprinters. and then relay events. And so, but track and field globally, it just isn't held in the same esteem now. Now, once we get to the Summer Olympics every fourth year, it's front and center on everybody's radar. But boy, I'd sure like to see track and field and the middle distance events become really special again, because Jim Ryan and those guys, the Steve Scotts, the great Americans, carried this for decades. And then it just kind of got away, and it's kind of gone away. Yes, we have the Boston Marathon and the New York Marathon, but obviously the great South Africans and the great distance runners from Ethiopia and Bosnia and all the South African guys who train at altitude have kind of taken control of distance running. So this was cool to see a guy from Scotland show up and do this. And I mean, I saw the number. I said, holy cow, 342.6 in the mile. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy. And, just a little bit of a tangent on Scotland. The Open, every time the British Open happens, I always have to get out Google Maps. I like to see where it is. Yep. And it's usually on the North Irish Sea or on the North Sea. So this was just north of Liverpool and Manchester there, not quite up in Scotland territory or in Northern Ireland.
It was on the Irish Sea. It's kind of on the northwest side of the Irish country. And because it was located where it was, they thought Southport, bring your umbrellas and your wet gear because it's going to change. That weather's going to change. It did not happen. Never. It's the first time in years that they've not had to deal with the elements in the weather. And links golf is so tough. And in links golf plus weather, wow.
Wow. All right.
Okay. We have done our job. We do sports talk the way it should be done, put topics on the table, and then we'll give you the opportunity to participate. Now it's your turn. Fans Forum is just around the corner. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you. You got projects, they got material. You want ideas, they can be your best friend. Go to DIXIELINE.com. John, again, for people on live stream who've never done this before, just quickly tell them how they can jump into the line with Fans Forum to participate.
Okay, well, you can't call your Kiss My Aztec line. We're like in the 21st century now. So, yeah, so just drop your hot take in the live chat on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter, because that's where we're live streaming. We'll see you here on our screen. We'll get you involved. And by the way, if you float us a few bucks in YouTube in the super chat feature, you'll move to the front of the list. So let's start it here with music to my ears. And thank you very much for the donation. And let's go here. And he says, Argentina's dirty tactics and 24 fouls couldn't save them. Fix it for Argentina didn't work. Post-game violence from Argentina. Messi just stands there letting all fold out like 4 years ago. Racist chants on the French.
Well,
Brutal.
at the end of the day, the game was not sparkling. Not when you compare it to what England and France gave us on Saturday. That's item one. I think the other reality is everybody knew who Argentina was and how they played. It's called the dark side, the way they play. Spikes up, going for ankles, a lot of physical contact. I thought the one thing that disappointed me, John, and it's probably a very hard game to officiate, I thought the refereeing was very inconsistent. If you're a soccer fan, read my one man's opinion column on my website right now. It's because I kind of pointed out a whole bunch of things. But I thought the officiating was very, very erratic, and it may be an impossible game to officiate because it's so physical and so fast. But I didn't think Argentina handled the adversity very well, and then to see the brawl at the end with sucker punches, I thought that was really cheap, and I think FIFA is probably going to take action against some of those players on the Argentinian side. But hey, hats off to Spain. They earned it. They did it with great athletes. They did it with great skill and great resolve, and Argentina just could not cope with it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an electric match, but, Spain won it fair and square. It was interesting to me how you could really sense the intensity, that these men out on the pitch, they knew this is it. This is the real deal. This is the World Cup final. And so that's why, who was the guy that got the 2 yellows? That Fernandez,
Yes.
that last yellow, I mean, that dude, the guy from Spain got flipped in the air like the guy that just got hit by that buffalo. Have you seen that video clip of the guy getting thrown in the air? That's what it was like.
It was a knee-on-knee contact, and there was no reason for it.
Right. But I think what it was is Fernandez was like just going balls to the wall. He was going to do everything he can to get that ball. This is it. And it was obviously a bad call at the wrong time. And then the whole game changed when Argentina only had 10. But I just like the festival of it all, and it was just neat that it kind of finished in New York. That seemed appropriate. But, I was watching it on a TV at a kind of a sports bar, so I didn't get all the sound. But how hot was it in New York? Because it was hot here in San Diego over the weekend.
Well, it was in the 80s. I don't think it was obsessively hot, but they had the hydration breaks and all that. No, it's not like this afternoon out here, 107 degrees in my driveway. By the way, you're going to send me a thank you note to make you do the show from the left field today.
Yeah, you're lucky you have air conditioning. But they're gonna get rid of that hydration break thing, right? I mean, that was just a one-off.
They're gonna keep it.
They are. Oh wow.
Yeah, they're gonna keep it. Of course, there's a lot of people barking that that's not soccer tradition. Well, safety of players and heat and humidity, that has to come into it. And by the way, there's dollars attached to it because it's another chance for FIFA to sell sponsorship.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm led to believe it's going to stay, despite the fact soccer purists don't like it.
Yeah, they need to evolve too. We're all sports change, right, Lee? We got to just kind of go with it.
Okay. Hey, thanks for the money, music. You join us again.
Okay, let's go here to Do You Love It? Hey, if the Padres trade Mason Miller after trading DeVries for him, I'm done with AJ, and I have defended him. You do not trade Miller, period.
Exactly. You got cost control there. I wouldn't trade Morion. You've invested a lot. You've only gotten a year-plus return from him. You keep him and you sign him to a contract extension. But at the end of the day, they have so many significant problems because they're strangled by the contracts that Preller gave out that he now cannot move. And the only way he can move them is if they're willing to eat some of the contracts of some of these players. But then how does that help you? Nobody wants Bogart's contract, and unless you're going to give him a talent and you're going to eat some of the contract. I just don't know. They're painted into such a bad corner. So I don't buy this Mason Miller thing. I don't care if the Yankees call, etc. I just wouldn't do it. But at the end of the day, they are where they are because of all the past deals that guy has made.
Well, the Yankees have a lot of guys, a lot of guys that are big, good hitters, like Spencer Jones, the local San Diego kid. He's one of their top prospects. Ben Rice, I think he was in the All-Star game. Jason Dominguez. I mean, George Lombard. So there are guys there. If you got the right package, you could pull this off because Miller has 3 more years of control. I mean, he's a massive asset. So here's an angle, Lee, that I was reading about over the weekend is that Jose Feliciano, the new owner, when he became the new owner at Chelsea in the English Premier League, they kind of blew up the roster and they got rid of the veterans and they went with young guys and they started managing it more like a private equity team. I mean, do you see the Padres, the whole financial strategy shifting?
The question is, though, if you want to blow it up, that means you're getting rid of contracts. Who's going to take those contracts? And I don't know that Feliciano, what they did at Chelsea was they had veteran players who were out of contract. They let them go and bring them back. These guys got contracts that go 10, 12, 14 years. They got 7 more years on Machado, 7 more years on Bogarts, long extended money on Tatis and Jackson Merrill. So I don't think that they're going to swallow contracts.
Well, would you package, let's say, Xander and Mason Miller? And then you unload the big contract, but rather than giving up money and eating the money, you have to give up a crown jewel.
But how many prospects, diamonds in the rough do you get from the Yankees, for example?
Well, if you traded Mason Miller for, let's say, 3 of their top guys, which I think you could get something of that magnitude, or certainly 2 of them. But, in the end, I think the Padres are going to have to be aggressive with trading because that's the only leverage they have because they're stuck in a corner with their existing contracts, Lee. So, yeah, it's a mess.
Do not trade Mason Miller. Period, exclamation point. End of discussion. I'm going to lose my mind if they trade Mason Miller because you traded so much to get Mason Miller. Just like they traded 6 prospects to get those 2 guys out of Baltimore, and neither one of them's playing now.
For the Padres. Ryan O'Hearn's doing really well for Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Okay, thank you for joining us. We'll see where this goes. Trade deadline is August 3rd. Whoa, you won't want to miss the podcast with these deals coming down the turnpike.
All right, let's go to Sports Fan. Hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, what's your take on the midseason MLB trade? I think it's a sidetrack of going into the playoffs, and teams are in the playoffs.
Well, I think the thing that's complicated, that's kind of a convoluted question, though, Sports Fan. The thing that's complicated about this is we got teams that we thought were dead in the water are now within a half game or a game and a half of the wild card race. That's a big issue. There's not as many have-nots out there now because a whole bunch of these teams think they're in the running and saying, instead of selling, maybe we buy and we get to postseason, because postseason means more money in the front door for us. Postseason means you excite your entire marketplace. So whereas Detroit and Boston looked like they were dead in the water, St. Louis has been rebuilding, and suddenly St. Louis is a playoff contender in the first year of what's supposed to be a long rebuild. That's pretty impressive. So I think there's fewer teams that are going to be sellers. So that means you're going to look at Oakland or look at Sacramento A's, which are having a miserable season, and maybe try to find a bat from Sacramento. Or where do you go get pitching? That becomes an issue because there's not enough pitching to begin with. Miami's in the race. Miami is not going to deal any one of their starting pitchers at this point because they're in this race. So I think it's going to be tougher to make a transaction because I think there's 11 teams that now consider themselves wild card teams, John, and maybe only 4 or 5 that are kind of out of this thing. Cincinnati is one that's got pitching that's out of it. Maybe you go get somebody from Cincinnati, but it'll be intriguing. We'll talk more about it on Thursday and going into next week to the deadline.
Yeah, this is a good market to be a seller, and that's why I think the Padres need to be sellers, because even if they add a couple of pieces and you kind of feel a little more optimistic, there's just no way they're going to survive in the playoffs. If your opponent is pitching Yoshinobu Yamamoto and all those other Dodger pitchers, I mean, there's just no chance. So yeah, this is the time to be a seller. But Lee, here's a question. Do you think, MLB wide, not just our local teams, do you think there's a strategy adjustment in the trade deadline as they approach the deadline as it pertains to the CBA, kind of having to be reset? Is this going to encourage teams to make deals or maybe not make deals?
Well, I think the question you're leading me into is if you got guys with big contracts and you're concerned that there's going to be a salary cap, what does that do to your roster? What does that do to your payroll? What does that do to your ability to make further deals? But we don't know that. And I'm just taking of the opinion, you got to deal for today in this pennant race and not worry about whatever the collective bargaining agreement might be for 2027. There might be a lockout. Maybe you won't have to spend any money because nobody's going to be getting paid if there's a lockout, but maybe there'll be a new set of rules. So, but I think you're dealing with what is today. Can I make my roster better, or should I just sell off and start a rebuild? I don't want to see the Padres sell off. I just don't. I can see the Angels sell off because they've been so bad for so long. Go back to square one with new leadership and get as much as you can for the 2 starting pitchers. And if Mike Trout would agree to go, you could get a bonanza there. You could get yourself a lot of young people to try to start fixing what's been bad for a long period of time.
Yeah, like you said, the Mets have a open for business sign at the City Field. The Angels need to be in that mode. Exactly. Yep. Let's just reset. Okay, let's go here. You got a lot of comments about this on social media. This is from Carlos. Your letter grade on the Dodgers was off. The fact that this team was missing 2 starters, now 3 with Ohtani, and they're starting catcher Will Smith and still have the best record, that's an A grade, Lee.
Well, that's fine. I understand that. But considering who they are, they shouldn't be losing streaks. And they got some people that aren't playing very well. I mean, this Kyle Tucker contract looks like a bad investment. And the whole world must be of the opinion that this is a superstar. Well, superstars don't hit 240 with 7 home runs, making $60 million per year. And superstars don't have mediocre numbers like he did last year in Chicago and the year before that. So that looks like a bad investment. And just based on the injury history with Glasnow, I mean, he had problems in Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay, and then he comes here, and then they give him a new deal while he's here. He can't stay healthy. And then you got the whole, as great as Blake Snell has been, you're guaranteeing $165 million to a guy who can't pitch for half the season at least. Does anybody out there, aside from me, think that maybe you've made some bad investments, Andrew Friedman? I know you're in first place.
They got money to burn, Lee. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that they're paying Snell and Glasnow and all these other guys a gazillion dollars and they're not playing, not contributing, so what? They're still in first place. It's insane. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen this in any other team in the league. I mean, there have been dominant teams like, the Lakers or the Celtics or the 1980s 49ers, but it was never anything like this, where a team could have a pitching staff that is trash and they still win the World Series, or they have all these injuries, or they've got huge contracts that are not even, contributing, and they still make the playoffs and win the whole thing. I mean, this is an aberration, don't you think, in the whole history of sports?
It's really unique, but big money buys you great players, and as long as you don't care about what you're paying on the luxury tax, you get great players, and for the most part, great players are going to find a way to fight through this adversity, whether it's Mookie Betts' injury and illness or it's Freddie Freeman and age. We'll see where it goes. But I gave him a letter B only because for a team that spent as much money, that's not a complete baseball team right now. Now, that being said, I know they're in first place. What's their record? 63-37, which is not bad.
That's like 2 out of 3 almost.
Yeah, I concur with you. That's
pretty good.
That's why I wrote the column, so I could get people to respond. Carlos, thank you for joining us. He gave him an A. I gave him a B. Let's see what the next person says.
Yeah, I mean, they're an A. I mean, even if you kind of wanted to push it a little, maybe an A minus, but an A. Okay, let's go to Luke. Hey, college football should have a relegation system. What do you think, Lee?
Well, that's not going to happen. First of all, everybody's tied into big TV contracts. This is all enormous money. And if you had relegation, now you're going to impact the value of your TV contract, and the rest of your partners aren't going to like that. In the Atlantic Coast Conference, you may not like Wake Forest, but you're going to kick Wake Forest out. That means you're not going to have the same amount of money coming in from your TV contract. So that relegation will never, ever happen. I know it sounds unique in soccer, but it's just not going to happen. There's no place to go get other teams to replace the teams that you would want to relegate out if things went badly. Nice concept, but not workable.
Well, if there is any sport in America that could do relegation, it's college football, because you already have like Jim Crow 2-tiered system, where you've got the Power Four and then you got the Group of Six, and nowhere shall they meet. They are separate and not equal. And so, that would be, if you wanted to put relegation somewhere, that is the sport. But to your point, yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt doesn't want to get downgraded to the Group of Six, but there are teams in the Group of Six that legitimately deserve to be in the big boys club, whether it's Boise State or San Diego State, certainly Oregon State, Washington State. They've all proven that they can compete at that level. Maybe not with the Ohio States of the world, but certainly with the middle tier of that conference. They could equal or better to them.
You really think the SEC will say, Vanderbilt, you're relegated?
No, they won't. They won't. They're the good old boys, and that's from the old South, so that they ain't going to go down to relegate, especially if they're going to make way for Oregon State. There's no way they're going to do that. But it would be interesting. It would be really fun.
Who are you going to replace them with? Eastern Kentucky? Come on now.
Well, yeah, or there's some, deserving teams. Certainly in basketball. Absolutely in basketball. So, all right, let's keep moving. Let's go to our friend Chris. The championship match of the beautiful game, featuring the consensus GOAT of the sport, Messi, and for nearly 90 minutes, his team records 0 shot attempts, let alone a shot on goal, and people wonder why we don't embrace soccer enough in the United States. I, for one, cannot wait to watch another game 4 years from now. If I want to watch guys struggling to score, I'll head to the local pub.
Well, at the end of the day, the thing that is just appeals to me beyond description is the World Cup is the creme de la creme of the greatest players of the world. So I don't care whether we're talking about the goaltender from Cape Verde, who nearly beat Argentina, or whether we're talking about Senegal scaring the crap out of somebody, or we're talking about the superstars and names we all recognize. Quality play. Now, I was a little disappointed because I thought Sunday's game had great magnitude to it, but those are two great teams that beat each other up. It just wound up being a 1-0 game. But overall, my goodness, the action, just phenomenal. Read my one man's opinion column, because I think you get a kick out of the people I liked and the people I despised, and what I wrote, it was positive and where the negatives were. Read my one man's opinion column and cut and paste it and email it to your other soccer friends. I'd love to hear from some other people, but this is the best of the best. It's not like a Tuesday game in MLS with guys you don't even know. This is the best of the best the globe has. So I've become addicted to the English Premier League. Now, I've not paid as much attention to La Liga in Spain. Maybe I should. But just the best players are playing abroad in these leagues, and they all came here and they played for 3 weeks here. And John, I thought outside of the championship game, I thought the show was dazzling.
Well, it was a great tournament, okay, but Chris is a good guy, but I don't agree with his take here, because how many, like you're saying, oh yeah, American fans don't like a game when no one scores or no one even tries to score. Okay, I hear you. But in 1985, everyone was going bananas for the Chicago Bears defense, shutting everybody out. And you got a dominant pitcher on the mound that's going 9 innings, shutting people down like Nolan Ryan. People in America love that. So this was a shutdown defense, a shutdown ball control kind of a game. And I think as American sports fans, we just have to, broaden our scope a little bit and say, okay, yeah, we know we're the center of the world of sports. We like to think that, but there are other sports out there that are legit. The game is played different. The strategies are different, and the kind of the relationship of the game with culture and society is different. And so for me, that's exciting. And that makes it even more interesting to really begin to learn more and more about soccer. I do think soccer will rise. I think this is the MLS they've been teed up with a sweet opportunity here to capture this soccer audience in America. I think soccer could rise up. They'll never top football, basketball, baseball, probably won't top hockey, but I can't think of any other sport that might be beneath them in terms of interest and attendance. Maybe auto racing. I don't know.
Okay, we'll see where it goes. I was pleased. I'm excited about Team USA and the growth potential. I hope this coach makes this decision by Friday to come back. We'll see where it goes.
Okay, let's go to our next one here. This is Richard. Hey, for the San Diego Gulls, congrats to Dave Manson, a new head coach. Looking forward to October.
Richard, I'm glad you're on board. I'm a big hockey guy. I want you to email everybody in your address book. Tell them we talk hockey on Hacksaw's podcast. We do talk Gulls. We talk Ducks. We talk Kings. We talk about hot NHL stores. Need to get the word out that if you like hockey, I swear to you, this is the only place in San Diego and Southern California to come talk hockey. But, hey, he earned it. That guy was a warrior as a player. 16 years in this league. That's phenomenal. And then he immediately got into coaching. And when you start riding buses in the minor leagues, that means you're dedicated to the task at hand, teaching, etc. So this will be fun. I have to see what the Ducks are going to do in terms of providing more quality young players here. But they've had some good coaching here in recent years. They just need to get more players in here.
Yeah, good on the Gulls. I just like it when local organizations are making good choices in their leadership. So Skies, they made the playoffs, didn't they, or did they just miss the playoffs?
No, they made the playoffs, but it was all on the road, and they were one and done.
That's what it was. Yeah, they kind of squeaked in, and they never got a home game. So hopefully next year the arrow's pointing up.
Yep. Okay, we move on. Thanks, Richard. Go ahead, do what I told you to do. Get these other hockey fans on board.
Okay, we'll go to the ladies line here. Hey, this is from Maggie. Hey, Dave Roberts is a horrible manager. He burns out his pitchers and overworks his players. My opinion, with respect.
I don't know. The rest of the world doesn't think Dave Roberts, with 1,000 victories in his career, is a bad manager. They've had a lot of injury situations, but some of those are pitchers that they inherited. And again, Ohtani's injury has nothing to do with his arm. This is just a knee injury that they're going to try to manage. But the problem is, at this point, they don't feel comfortable letting him throw bullpen sessions. And if he can't throw bullpens, he can't be ready to pitch once per week. So they're going to have to find a common ground. Otherwise, as John would say, who cares? We'll just go get another pitcher. We'll just let him be our DH, hit home runs, hit 350. So
yeah,
I don't think Roberts is a bad manager at all. And I think there's an intangible to Dave Roberts that I think is the most critical piece of this equation. He manages that clubhouse, those personalities and those egos. We got a lot of guys making a lot of money. You got a lot of different personas. There are no internal problems with Dodger baseball because of Dave Roberts. I think that's an intangible thing that more people need to pay attention to.
It's an interesting guy because I like him as a person. He's just a quality individual. But it's interesting how Dodger fans disproportionately hate the guy. Like a few years ago, before they started winning World Series, it was always that Roberts would leave the pitcher in too long, or he'd pull the pitcher too soon, and he doesn't know how to manage a major league lineup. And everyone was criticizing him when they were spending all the money and not winning it. Now they are winning and he's still getting crap. And I'm like, what's to complain about here?
Well, understand this, though. The way the Dodgers run things with analytics upstairs. And early on, Maggie is correct. Early on, John, you're correct. There were mistakes made as to who pitched when and when you pulled them, etc. But I don't think he was making decisions strictly in a vacuum. I think there was a game plan early on. Go get this guy out. Let's go to this matchup. I think that came to a degree from upstairs. Now, they've gotten better and better at it. And maybe it all changed when the Dodgers beat the Padres, 3 years ago in the playoffs when they were down 2-1 and went to a bullpen day. I thought this series is effectively over. And the way they utilized the bullpen, Dodgers have not looked back since that point in time.
Nerds. The nerds are taking over the sport, Lee. I mean, what do you think, like somebody like Earl Weaver would say if the front office, fresh out of college, slipped him a note to tell him who to pinch hit for? Earl Weavers would tell the guy to take a long walk off a short pier. I mean, It's interesting how the analytics have really become part of the game. And frankly, I think it makes the game and the strategy better. I mean, it's an improvement in the game rather than just going on the hunch of an old coot.
And Earl Weaver's quote would be, "Don't you bring that bleep in here."
That guy, what's funny is I responded to a tweet and it was like, who are the top 10 all-star timers for the Baltimore Orioles, and had all the great names, and Jim Palmer and, Brooks Robinson and everybody. And Earl Weaver wasn't in the list. And I said, man, you got to give it up for him. He was always out on the field, giving it everything he had. And he's a little guy, and he's up there with these major league ball players, and even those umpires are huge. And Earl Weaver is like a little midget doll, but he was good at what he did. No, he loved that 3-run homer.
There was never an umpire that he would not kick dirt on.
It's great.
Okay. Thanks, Maggie.
Let's go here to Richard. Hey, more Dodger talk. Hey, if there's any team that can withstand any injuries, it's the Dodgers. They have trade capital, make deals at the deadline. The 162 is their spring training. It's all about October.
I'm going to be interested to see as we get to October 3rd, and now with this little bit of a red flag involving Ohtani and the knee situation, and the fact they're talking 3 weeks out now that he won't pitch, which means then he has to ramp back up again to get ready to pitch again. With the trade deadline just around the corner, there are other guys out there they could go make a deal for, and they do have currency. That AAA and AA roster, John, is loaded. One of the unique names out there is Minnesota Twins right-hander Joe Ryan. He's got an ERA, I think, of 2.48 maybe. Wow. And Minnesota's going to move him because there's impending free agency there. So if Tarek Skubal is off the block and Detroit's going to push for the pennant race, maybe they wind up going and get Joe Ryan. And they got the resources to create a package to go get a pitcher like that. They're not going to take on Freddie Peralta, who's not the same pitcher anymore with the Mets, or maybe even Luis Castillo up in Seattle. but I could see them make a transaction to go get Joe Ryan, and it wouldn't even be a rental because they're the Dodgers. They could afford to re-sign him and might even re-sign him. So keep an eye on that. There's more guys out there than just Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, if they trade for Joe Ryan, they'll probably just give up like some no name in low A, and maybe a future draft pick or something. The Dodgers never seem to trade their elite talent. It seems like the guys that were elite talent that never really quite made it, like James Outman or Gavin Lux, they land somewhere else eventually. But it's rare for them to trade them when they're young.
Yeah, they haven't moved a lot of guys that have gone on to be significant players anywhere else. Off the top of my head, Mike Bush, maybe Chicago Cubs. But that's one of the few.
There's a pitcher with the Rays that we were talking about him in the Dodgers organization a few years ago, and he got dealt. And I can't remember his name, but
I'll tell you, there was one big name the Dodgers had. But he was only 17 years of age. This will shock you. I can't, off the top of my head, remember this deal was made maybe 5 years ago. They traded Yordan Alvarez, the power-hitting first baseman, the All-Star, who's now with the Astros. He was in the Dodger system, but he was very, very young at that point. It was kind of like the Tatis trade at age 17 to San Diego. Yordan Alvarez was in the Dodger farm system. That's one of the few stars that they traded away.
Yeah, the Dodgers, of course they sign all the top talent. They walk out of bed and they, land in nice, sweet, soft patch of grass, so, it was another, interesting player I saw recently a photo of recently that you forget played for a team was George Foster. He was on the Giants for a few years before he was a star with the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
Okay, enough of that. Let's go here to Michael talking about LeBron. Fulton State, the old folks' home.
It'd be a hard fit for me to imagine that happening. Golden State, it'd be like this is the last go-round for everybody. Because Steve Kerr's been rumored he might retire. Well, if they got LeBron to go with Steph, to go with Draymond Green, and they've got a bunch of young guards, this might be the last hurrah. Maybe they'd be together for 1 year, and then Steve Kerr would retire, and they'd probably get into a massive rebuild. So, but from a LeBron standpoint, that doesn't look like a great place to land. If he wants to win, and that's what he said this past week, that he wants to go where they can get another ring, then Philadelphia makes the most sense to me. Minnesota's got great talent, but Minnesota's got so many players. How's he going to fit in Minnesota? Cleveland coming home carries a lot of emotional clout, but they have such a salary cap issue. Before they could bring him in, they got to move somebody. And how does that help you long term if you get rid of Ev Mobley or you get rid of Jared Allen so you could bring LeBron in for 1 year? So,
we don't need to get rid. The Cavs don't need to give up anybody because he's a street free agent, right?
No, but they're over the cap.
Oh, because they're over the cap. Okay.
They have to move. They have to move somebody out to slot him in.
Okay, right on. Okay, I got you. Okay, I think it'd be fun if it was with Golden State, but that would be an old folks' home. That would be something. That would be crazy.
Michael, thanks for being with us. Go ahead, John.
Okay, let's go to Robert. Watching Padre hitters in these extended slumps, I can't help but wonder why no one is following the Padres' great hitters' advice. Quote, if you're slumping in every at-bat, hit it to the opposite field.
Just put the ball in play. Hit it where it's pitched. A lot of guys go through stretches where they're trying to pull everything. Everybody wants to be a power hitter. But let's also understand this. There's some wicked stuff coming off the mound. I mean, I think it is really hard to hit in Major League Baseball right now with the wide variety of things that these guys are throwing coming out of the rotation. So, but you're a star, you're being paid megastar money, you need to hit. And you need better control of the strike zone. You need to quit chasing. You need to put the ball in play. And it just has not happened consistently at all. I look at that Padre batting order, and they get guys on base and say, here comes a big rally. And these guys are swinging at stuff out of the zone, and next thing you know, it's a double play ball. They're topping balls. It drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's tough to watch that. To Robert's point, though, yeah, that's one of the old, truisms in baseball is to go the other way and kind of reestablish your swing and reestablish your balance point. So that makes a lot of sense. But it is, we'll give the benefit of the doubt there. So first of all, Machado is too experienced of a player to be in this prolonged of a slump. Now, granted, he's coming out of it, and Tatis is coming out of it, but they got to keep climbing. But to your point, there is wicked stuff. The velo is way higher. If you go back and look at like some, videos of baseball, let's say in the 1980s or even in the 1990s, I mean, the ball moved a lot. I mean, with the exception of Greg Maddux, the ball didn't move nearly as much. You can tell that the speed is a lot lower. And then, God, if you go back way back, it just seems like, that slow pitch softball. So it is a different game. I'll give them that. But, the Padre hitters in slumps, it just kills you.
I mean, to look at this batting order and the names in this batting order, John, and for these guys to be ranked 28th, 29th, or 30th in virtually all the offensive metrics, that's astounding.
Yeah.
Now, some of it's got to do with the wicked stuff that pitchers are throwing. Some of it's got to do with these players. Age has got a lot to do with it. Manny's lost his bat speed. Maybe age has caught up to Xander Bogaerts. I don't have the understanding as to why Jackson Merrill is such a mystery now, because he's such a young player, but that's where we are. Okay, good question. Rob, thanks for joining us. Go ahead, John.
Okay, let's see who's the next one in line here. I'm looking all over the place. There's a lot of great commentary here. This is our friend John. Hey, who's the real winner of the World Cup? Why, it's the United States and all of our fellow citizens. We conducted the equivalent of 104 Super Bowls. The world got to see what a great place America really is. Our citizens, for our friendliness and hospitality. No one got injured, no riots, no property damage, and the only casualties are a few billion brain cells sacrificed to celebratory beverages.
Well, read my one man's opinion column, John. I think you kind of like it. I thought it was great events. I really did. And, what was added to it was the uniqueness of the clientele that came to these stadiums. It was just not you and me. It was fans from abroad. Those fans who have such emotional ties to Argentina, Spain, Mexico, all those people who came to row the boat following Norway. I mean, the invasion of the foreign soccer fan added to the persona of what these events became. I thought it was really special.
Well, yeah, Joseph chiming in. It was a great tournament to be in Vegas for some of it and see how many people were here from all over. Incredible and all in good fun.
Yeah, very much so. And even though the price tags to get in prices they paid it. And they really enjoyed it. And it's a memory of a lifetime for an awful lot of these people from abroad who came here. It was cool. I don't know if it has a ringing effect to explosive growth of MLS soccer, but I think it should create a tremendous interest of sports fans here to go follow these guys now that they go back to their clubs to play in England and Italy and France or in Spain. That's where I think the growth will come from.
Yeah, there are a lot of personalities. I mean, Erling Haaland, I'm going to be watching him forever now. I mean, that guy is on social media was terrific. Okay, let's go here to 4RXLA. John is right. Lee is working hard to manufacture a crisis with the Dodgers. Ducker has been more like Conforto, but is still doing better than Tatis.
Tucker's got to prove something to me. Nobody in LA media is holding him accountable at all. You're paying that kind of money to this kind of guy to hit 240 with 7 home runs and just play out there like he's in a cloud? Does anybody have a problem with that? So I'm a little bit surprised that he's just not the player that maybe the Dodgers thought. We'll see if he hits his way out of it. He doesn't seem to have a fire in his gut. It's just like showing up to work. And I don't know. I'm really stunned that he's just not the player everybody expected him to be.
Yeah, but again, it doesn't matter. The Dodgers are in first place and they're doing well, but Kyle Tucker, when he was with Houston, I mean, he was special and he got dealt there to the Cubs. But Tatis is coming up. I mean, he's been playing way better, like since the beginning of June.
Yeah. Outside of the lack of power, Tatis has played really well.
He had 2 home runs over the weekend. The power's coming back.
Well, some, but I mean, if he's hitting in the 280s and he's making every type of play defensively, second base or right field, so I'm not as down on Tatis as I am about virtually everybody else in that batting order right now.
Yeah, right. I agree. Okay, let's get another new name here. This is Douglas. Hey, all the soccer experts and fans can go back in the closet now.
Ooh, that's okay. It's just a piece of sports, and those of us who appreciate the greatness of that sport and those players will remember it. And otherwise, if you don't, no problem. Here's your pennant race. Here's the opening of NFL training camps. But it was kind of unique and refreshing, John, to watch as much soccer as you and I did. I thought it was really, really cool.
You know, I was, especially in group play, I was really into the fact that there were multiple games a day and they rarely overlapped with each other. And so, you know, in the midst of everything else going on in the world of sports, we had this new bonus sport to watch for a while, and now it's gone. And this is sort of kind of an emptier time in sports here in July before the NFL really gets going. So I'm kind of already missing it.
Well, I think the thing that was unique was here in our time zones. You know, if they're playing the next World Cup in Qatar,
yeah.
I mean, how many hours difference is that? We're not going to have all the games on our TV at hours we're normally watching TV. They'll be scattered.
Well, there were some like American sports fans that were upset that the semifinals were starting at 12 noon Pacific time on a Wednesday and a Thursday, or a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and saying, what the hell, you should have these during prime time. And I'm thinking, well, they probably are on prime time in England and France and Spain and in Argentina, right?
Yep, concur. Okay, Doug, thanks for being with us. Go ahead, John.
Okay, let's go here to Casey. Just a little fun follow-up. Hacksaw, you be great as a new radio voice of the Ducks or as a fill-in voice of the Ducks?
Well, I did hockey for a long time, really loved it, but at this point, I just don't know how I could hold up and do it. You know, I have talked to the GULLS multiple times over the years about helping them get a true radio package. But we never came to an agreement, and then they had a radio package, and the radio package went away. You know, I would do that because I think I'm pretty good at hockey. I'm the only one that knows hockey in this market. But you know, again, the landscape of radio has changed. So if you don't have a true radio package, you know, how can you have a big broadcast group to try to put together to deliver your games? I think you need to have radio, and unfortunately the GULLS have not had radio in a long time. The Ducks don't have radio. The Ducks do it on an internet basis. They don't have an actual station. The Kings did not have it recently. They're going back. They're going to be back on AM radio up in the Los Angeles market. The industry has changed a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like, I get why people are maybe consuming hockey differently now than they did 30 years ago, because now they can watch it on their phone. They're getting it's streaming. It's on, you know, all these new ESPN 25, 26, 27, all these extra channels. But still, it would be nice to have them on the radio too. I mean, the radio still has a role to play in sports media, but when you've got sports stations, you know, like the three that are here in San Diego, some of them could use some content, you know, and it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, you know, to put together a contract to get, let's just say, the GULLS on, you know, 760 KFMB. I don't know why that's not getting done.
I concur with you. But again, somebody in corporate says, minor league hockey on my station, we have no ratings to begin with at night. What's the difference? But
try something new.
Yeah, there is a cost factor that's involved to deliver the games and hiring people, et cetera. It's not free, but you got to work hard. I told the president of the GULLS, you need to be on radio to grow the product. I think this is a hell of a hockey market, but they have not had radio in probably 4 or 5 years. They do it on an internet basis. So
how is hockey on the radio? It's already kind of tougher on TV than it is in real life.
No, because you paint a picture, use the language, you should be able to do it. I did it. It was it came lickety-split to me. Now, I think hockey on radio, if done correctly, can be good. I think hockey is tougher to follow on TV because you're trying to find the puck, and the broadcasters are trying to fill in the blanks. On radio, I'm just painting the picture. Where the puck is, what does John Riley do with the puck, what happens when the puck is shot on Hacksaw in goal. I can do all that.
Yeah, you're like the Chick Hearn of hockey. You come up with all of your own lingo. Rather the popcorn machine, it'd be something else.
Okay. So you guys are gonna contact the Ducks and the Gulls and say, Hacksaw should be your new play-by-play voice. Okay.
Well, he should at least be a pinch hitter if necessary. Okay.
Let's do one more here before we wrap it up.
Okay. Carlos wants to know if the Padres are going to make the playoffs.
See me August 4th to see if there's a transaction that makes a difference. Because right now they have nowhere near enough starting pitching. Outside of Michael King, who would I give the ball to in the postseason that I would trust? And do I think this batting order is going to hit consistently? Because they haven't hit all season so far. But see me August 4th, the day after the trade deadline, and we'll see if there's a transaction that makes a bit of difference here. Good question, valid question. John, this has been unique. This has been different. Hey, we do sports talk the way it should be done. Topics, opinions, and then the fans get the chance to participate. Listen, I hope everybody who watches this on live stream will tell all your friends what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Email everybody in your address book. Let them know that Hacksaw is back with his guy from left field as his co-host with the opinions. And we hope you'll enjoy this. We're here Mondays at 1:30, Thursdays at 1:30. Help us grow. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you. Got projects? Need materials? Think DIXIELINE. Build it. Fix it. Guarantee you can enjoy it at DIXIELINE Lumber. John, take a deep breath. We'll see how quickly these baseball trades start. And just around the corner, here comes the opening of NFL camp. So we got a lot to cover going forward.
Yeah, Padres Braves get started in about an hour. I don't know. That's going to be a tough one.
And the Dodgers play the Phillies. That starts in about an hour or two.
All right on.
East Coast road trips are hard. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Join us again on Thursday. For John Riley, Hacksaw here. Have yourself a great day, and thanks for joining us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.